Well,
Welcome to West
okay.
Branch.
I'd like to call to order this meeting of the West Branch Planning and Zoning Commission. And yes, Adam, would you do the honor of calling the roll?
And Bauer. Here. Peck. Dan Scully.
Here.
Walsh.
Here.
Fuller.
Here.
Bowers.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
And the rest of us don't.
Let
All of you.
the
matter.
record reflect.
But
No, I'm just kidding.
you don't have to be here. So. We have an agenda before us, and I would seek approval of that agenda.
So moved.
Ryan moves approval.
Second.
And Brad seconds it. Okay, we'll proceed with our agenda then. And the first item is to approve the minutes from our May 24th meeting, which we have in front of us. So I will entertain any changes, additions, omissions to those minutes. And if none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Brad, and the second, Jim. Okay, all those in favor, aye. Those opposed? We have our minutes. The next item is to set a public hearing date for September 27th for a rezoning request. And Brad, as you're involved in this, you might want to recuse yourself from
You
the
didn't already know my name. is Brad
Discussion.
Bauer. Nice to meet everybody. I currently own 154 Fort Street. That's where I live. And I own the adjacent lot right next to it, 152, and I would like to join them. Problem is there are two different zonings. So my house is on R1 and the lot's on R2. So I like to request that I can change the R1 lot to R2 and join them.
You will have plenty of space for a large garden
Yeah.
or a swimming pool, I suppose. Okay, we understand what is being requested.
Reject the covenants.
Right.
I got approval from Lincoln, it's okay.
Any comments on setting a public hearing? Yes, Gary? Nope. Right. Okay.
Yeah, city has seen signed letter from covenant owners.
And they're okay with it?
You've given approval. Yes.
And so I guess I do have one question.
Sure.
So you're just gonna go ahead and do an audit as far as one, Brad,
One big instead of two
Yeah.
parcels?
Yeah.
and you can see you copy that. And then you just,
Have you talked to your neighbors?
No,
Well, that
we're gonna
will
send out a
be,
letter.
I
Once-
know, I'm
once a
just
public
asking,
hearing is set.
do you have any kind of,
Nobody seems to,
nobody seems
it's
to,
just an open lot and,
cool, no, I just
Yeah.
don't know.
yeah. Someday I might add on to the house.
Yeah.
So I can go across, use both, that's why I didn't see us.
Yeah. It makes me more comfortable to do one parcel than two. This is it was my concern, but.
Yeah.
there isn't any easements on the property. So you might have to go ahead and. I'm just saying.
Oh, between the two,
The buddy.
Yeah,
Make sure.
the only thing you would have would probably be in the back, wouldn't it, for a utility easement or something?
Yeah, there's one in the back, there's a drain there.
There's one on the
And
back, but not on
it
the
was
side.
on 154, I moved it to 152 to catch meadows and water. Yeah,
I
not
did,
that I know
I did a drive by.
I can sort of look,
Yeah, you can look out your window, right?
right? Okay, well, if there's no more discussion or questions, then I'll entertain a motion to set a public hearing for this concerning. Ryan moves, and there's a second. Matt. Thank you.
of. Thank you.
The public hearing, I suspect, would be at our next meeting, September 27th. Item C is another public hearing request. And that's a request,
We need a roll call on that. For any reason, Adam?
Just note that
Just
Bauer.
note that Bauer
abstained.
abstains. Okay, Bauer, you abstained.
Yeah.
I have it on there. Is that it, good enough?
Item C is a public hearing for a rezoning to a public, excuse me, PUD. And, we have a city parcel here and, also 224 North 4th Street. Who's proposing this? City?
Right here.
Oh,
Blue
okay.
sky.
Hello.
Ah,
Mr.
yes,
Thomas.
indeed.
Nice to see you again.
Indeed.
So
Stand in there.
when we rezoned, prior to my arrival, we did not do the Clark property. Which is like the multi-family units, so it's still R3, and then there's a portion of Wapsie Park that technically crosses the creek with the city owned. And they did that for their, detention area. So we'll be rezoning that portion with this, it's still on their side. It's city-owned property that needs to be rezoned, plan unit development. So it's just making sure every
I think when
every
we,
parcel.
when we did we weren't quite sure about some of the
We
properties.
didn't know who would buy what.
We
There's
weren't
still
sure how it would
discussions
all
going
shake
on.
out in the end,
So,
yeah.
It's also rezoned the old computer shop.
Yes,
It's already rezoned.
Already
Yeah.
rezoned.
We are
And then
close
it-
to having the totality of the land which you are seeking, right? Good. Let's get closer. Comments and questions?
I would like to hear a little bit about it.
Yes. Now you can stand.
Well, goodness gracious, okay.
Come on up, Wayne.
Oh, boy, human city file. Well, feeling it, I think it's gonna look it up. Okay, give me a moment.
We can move till his item.
Yeah. You guys wanna do that and I'll find it?
Yep.
Okay.
You go on to the next.
Okay, item D is next, and that is to amend the historic preservation ordinance. Also to set a date for a public hearing on that amendment. Quite an extensive suggestion for change of the ordinance. And one of the key elements of it that I see is essentially establishing a new district. And that is with the what's the name of the house?
Travelers Rest.
Travelers Rest, exactly, something that Adam is quite acquainted with. Has everyone had a chance to look at all the yellow materials?
95% of that was from the old ordinance, when we recodified. There was an ordinance that was passed, probably
91.
wasn't implemented correctly, and so. Technically, right now, we do not have a preservation district, so, because that was removed when we recodified.
Oh, whoops.
You guys happen to have an extra copy of that, mine would come through my phone.
Yes, you can have mine, bud. Here. It's in this file somewhere.
The only two real changes that have not occurred in West Branch would be, yes, that stop on the Underground Railroad known as Travelers Rest. The homeowner there wants to preserve their home. Best way to do that is through a local ordinance. And then the second one is administrative review of sign permits. Our commission meets quarterly, and that's not quick enough to get sign permits approved. So if it's not a non-contentious sign permit request, the historic preservation chair and myself can approve it. If we disagree, and that's for window decals. But if it's any type of structural change or lights are too big, then that's going straight to historic preservation. But some of them that are just window decals, they don't need to wait 3 months.
No, I would agree with that.
So those are really the only two
Changes.
So it's really more an administrative decision with minor types of signs. The ones that extend from the building and that kind of sign, it's another matter.
So if we're setting a public hearing for this ordinance,
Yes,
does that mean this area that we're proposing as a historic district, does that put a moratorium on it so they can't have any building permits or anything until we get the ordinance into effect? No? So what if someone asks for a building permit to go ahead and put something totally not in conformance with what we want? We have to go ahead and do it. Yes.
Until we have the public hearing.
Deal, unfortunately. Yep.
and until the council acts.
Yeah, I guess until the council acts. That might be the last step.
There has on occasion been discussion of extending the historic district. But this doesn't really deal with that. Okay. Will,
Motion to approve the public hearing.
there's a motion to
Yes.
approve a public hearing for September 27th for these changes and additions to the historic preservation ordinance.
So that's.
Is there a second?
You were.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Jim, okay.
sorry, I was
Too
trying to help
late,
Brad
too
look
late.
at stuff.
Okay, all those in favor of this public hearing indicate by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, fine. Are we ready to go back?
Mr. Fuller, as soon as Adam has the files available to put up on the screen, we are ready to go.
Who motioned that? Jean,
And Adam, I
Ryan did, and who's seconding? Jen, okay,
Okay, one of them was citing for
sorry.
Terry.
No, we do that
Multitasking.
fast.
Like. Oh. Yeah, everybody has that now. I can, if everybody has that open on their desk, I can come around to the desk and show you what we're at, how we're getting there. Do you have a copy of this? This gentleman here, he's one of that.
I have two. Turning.
Okay.
Fire charge.
I-
More copies here. if
I
anybody
printed
would like.
everything
got 'em.
off, but
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's a cable right there, Adam. Holy cow, look at that sucker.
Now, would you like me to use my laptop? So I can do that really. Okay.
Try my second.
Oh, there it is. Look at
City owns this?
that.
Leave, don't move the chair. I'm just kidding. Your giant monster cable. Is that what it is?
Interesting. Yeah, we can try yours too.
Okay, let me fire it up.
Yeah, here. This is like Same person.
Mhm.
My house.
Yeah.
Here.
You know it.
Pretty much. A little interesting. But
Yeah, it is.
I know.
It don't matter.
no,
Mhm.
Okay. Let's,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, thanks. Let's just see what we got. Yeah, I know it has to be visible, like, oh, oh, let's see. Okay, all right, now let's see if my mouse is. Come on. There you go, okay. So. What I would like to start with is phase 4. So that it's public record. We are going to be having contact with the Miller family again. My team will be reaching out to them. It is our objective to reach a easy, mutually beneficial resolution. And if Stephen or Janine were here this evening, my answer to them would be the same. Our team will be reaching out to them. And our intention is to reach a mutually beneficial resolution easy. So, there's other opportunities here that we can look at another time. We want to be sure that we give the Millers every opportunity that they have to participate.
Mhm.
So, you can see, you have your phasing here. It's not necessarily accurate. I had to prepare this for the Iowa Economic Development Authority. It's also utilized for here as well. And the topography of the land is lending for us to approach things a little bit differently, and also we can get a little ahead of the game. So we're working with MMS now. Obviously, they've completed pretty much everything except for some small changes that Terry pointed out today, and any other running changes that we need to make. We'll get those taken care of also. We'll start with these 3 buildings here. We acquire the Clark property. We acquire the TV shop at the first of the month. We got our asbestos report back, which is unfavorable. So we have to have the asbestos remediated, and then we'll get a demolition permit filed with all that information. Terry, so you have all you need there. Then we'll come over here in April and we'll acquire this one, in January 1 is when this acquisition takes place, because Dave Clark didn't want us to take the property until next tax year. And then that property is supposed to be rendered to us vacant on January 1, which naturally it won't be because it works that way. So we'll have to work with the
Reality.
tenants, right, to help find other residences to get them out. And then we'll have to do our asbestos there, and then Terry will be working with the building permit there. However, still this fall, hopefully very quickly, foundation. I do have the plans, and you're gonna see those in a minute for those, okay? Then these 2 buildings here, I also have the plans for, they're not completely drawn. We need, every time we do an elevation, every time we're going to do something, these people are going to have to work with those slopes that we talked about, okay? Because this and this. And not only that, Terry, but in this middle here, we're going to use the common wall between these buildings as structural for the hillside. Coming down, so this foundation won't be typical to what's been done before. MMS has already designed these elevations for this building. We're assuming a continuation of a 2-foot rate of change. However, once we reach the crown of the street, which is about here, that elevation actually, the elevation changes. So MMS is going to go back now on our next series of this, and they will work with Mike Unfrower to help him with this site for the foundation plan for this. And then we're gonna have this, so you're gonna end up with 4 different foundation styles. Then you're gonna end up with 2 foundation styles here, and then these will be brought up to grade so that they'll be flat, but this one will sit above the other. And then these here are all along the creek, right? But we are currently visiting with this gentleman who approached Adam and then approached us, to talk about the possibility of incorporating them. They're very reasonable people. We really hope that we can come together. They did mention this person as well as being interested, and I have not reached out to them. The reason I haven't done anything with this is because this parcel here really belongs with this, and this doctor's done a really nice job in one of their buildings, beautiful. You can see that they have a lot of new technology, solar and things like this already incorporated in the facility. This tells me that they're probably not going to be motivated to move their space. However, it would behoove them, and I will be reaching out to them to acquire this for a later date. You know, we do have a little bit different design model than what you're seeing here, Terry. I'm gonna slide around and show you on yours in particular. See, if we acquire this parcel here, you can actually move the trail around and either bring one more row of units here, or possibly address this, but this is all in the floodplain. This is all in the floodplain here. Now, it's not in the floodway. There's a huge difference I've learned, okay? Now, we can remediate this, because I've already spoken with Kelly Beckler from MMS about how to do that, to be able to make this work, possibly a building here, who knows? But to be able to incorporate this, so that this gentleman's land still has value to it. Okay, so we've asked them what they would like for it. Gave a number, we agreed to it. He has a partner that he needs to visit with. He has some illness in his family right now, so they've not been able to circle back. We will get there. Terry, commissioners, yeah, that building is at the very end. So I told the gentleman, I said, hey, listen, I can do that last. I don't need it today. We'll help you with it. But, you know, we can work with this. But as a team within the community, we need to understand that this goes with this. This goes with that. For future for those people someday. Okay, let's see. So there's your phasing. Is that complete? Okay,
Mhm.
wonderful. So these, Terry, now we haven't quite settled out on the overall aesthetic, and it is my plan as we look at the development, to not design each of the buildings with one brush stroke. Don't think it's possible. Now, if you take your car, Emily, to the Tiffin exit, there's the come and go gas station, the storage
Yep.
buildings over there. You turn right back around that corner and you're gonna see it. Maybe walk through one of these. This would be a nice unit. I'm very, very pleased with it. And, you know, when you see what other people have done and what they've been successful with, you know, you don't need to change the recipe too much. The exterior design is not commensurate necessarily with the direction that we're gonna end up heading, which I'll show you next. However, when it comes time to actually choose how this development's gonna flow together, it's going to take all of us in this space, particularly Adam, who we'll be relying on a lot. And of course, Mike Ondrawer, to be sure, he's the designer as well, and all of our people too, to be sure that we're doing a really good job. Just a little too old fashioned for me, but we'll get back to it. Okay.
Are these gonna be Reynolds Lane or are these gonna be,
Oh, you asked a very good question.
that's why I'm here.
So here's there's a moment in time when interest rates were different
Mhm.
and construction costs were different, that I'd be able to look at you across the table and tell you my plan. At this moment, I have an A, a B, and a C,
Got it.
right? I'd really like to sell them. But if the cost in is more than the cost out can be, I have to abide by any awards that were given by the IEDA. So I had another development that I did where I agreed to a variety of things and I'm living up to that, but I have to carry it now. I'm carrying it for a while, 40 homes.
We kind of did the same thing, but in an opposite way, where we were promised without anything in writing that it was not all gonna be straight up rentals, and then they all were. We were looking for a little bit more of an affordable housing combination between sales and rentals and different types of properties, so
So I understand.
we're a
what
little
you're telling
gun
me.
shy about
I appreciate
promises
that.
without, yeah.
So
So just be honest, I guess is what I'm saying,
So
what your thoughts are.
my belief is that these will be able to hit the saleable mark. These will be rentals.
Got it.
These will be saleable.
So there's a combo. I guess that's what we just,
This is the, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, I just sold 400 units. Okay, I don't want to own them anymore. Like, I'm tired.
well, and we just want to make
So,
sure that we have a
just
great
wanna do it.
options for people moving into the community.
Right.
So
I mean,
that's what,
It's
Yeah.
it's a lot
yeah,
to deal with this, but I can tell you that I'm a little particular. So I have not sent you yet, the covenants from the place. We have a place in Florida that's so super fantastic. and The neighborhood's great. They don't even- You can't even put your garbage cans on.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I think it's very important that we do that. And if you release everything onto the market, then it becomes hard to manage it.
Yeah.
Right, so my objective is to keep 50% plus one, so it'd be here, 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 and here, and here.
That's helpful.
Don't want it, 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 don't want it. Can't make it cash flow. The cost of constructions inside of these are larger, let me show you. I mean, I'm gonna try to go back so Terry can see this one here. Now, I can't just blatantly pull up, what's that? I can't pull up yeah, oh, come on now.
Poplar. 353.
It's not working for some.
It took us a while, but we hopped on it.
I had another-
There's a little checkbox, Jim,
City Hall.
above it,
Yeah,
but you can't really
office.
see it. That's where I was.
I've been on before, so we could get it. To your connection is private. That's okay.
It's not private.
I don't know.
Yes.
Um,
It changed password, we fixed the Wi-Fi, we're having issues.
I think, well, I can remediate.
This one worked for us. We just,
I can do it here.
on the website, you can't see the checkbox. It kind of blends into the photo in the background, so you can't see the writing that it, right? You can't tell that you have to check the box before you sign in.
This is just why we need to be adaptable and work together and take and find this. in a second.
Absolutely.
We'll use this and-
We just went through it ourselves.
So while he's waiting, can we just go back to the conversation around floodplain and flood line, just to make sure we understand that, maybe help.
Floodway.
Floodway.
Make sure our terminology is correct. We're trying to kind of work through that, maybe kind of help me get educated.
So floodway is kind of like when the creek comes up, it's what you kind of allow for the flooding, for it to be at or above flood stage, the flood. The other is where it goes, your property's at risk.
I'm still here.
Are you, is that the GIS?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, no,
You go to Cedar County and go on to GIS, you can go ahead and pull up the floodplain, you go to the layers.
Okay.
And we give you the floodway and also the 100-year floodplain.
So the floodway is.
It's what, it's
Where it
allowable,
You can't
the
build in
floodplain can be, but it's not smart to.
It's okay, we're gonna be able to bring it up.
Right, we were just talking about the
Okay.
difference between floodplain and floodway.
Ah.
Just change the elevation.
Oh, okay. so
Then you
wanted
can
to
just
comment
reshoot that part.
on car building. Correct, you gotta have a permit. Okay,
But if you can raise the elevation, then you can get
Right.
a Loma to get out of the floodplain.
look at here, hot dog. So this is, so I've submitted this already to the city. This is or right. Looking for the, there you go. So these here. So the building we're gonna look at now is literally this building.
Got it.
So you cannot see the north-south elevation as to understand what it looks like. So this is your grade up the street. So this is Fourth.
Yep.
And it's okay, you're coming up the street. Okay, And what you see on the exterior as far as materials, pay no attention to it. It's just like when, you know, you're watching Wizard Man, don't look at the iron behind the curtain, because I don't know yet. I just need to think about it a little bit. I did a lot of tours over this past summer on the East Coast and the West. And there's a variety of different ways people have done these things. Really need to study it. I'm gonna hire some people to talk about how to make it cohesive. I don't really think that we're gonna choose the exterior finishes until the building is standing up. I gotta know what they look like to scale. Okay, I mean, I think it's really important that we will come to terms. And
Well, that was
agree with
that was our intention of the PUD, correct? To have some say in the exterior.
Oh,
look of-
yes.
Look,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
So we can still have that conversation together.
Well, see, so oftentimes, this is what Terry commented on, is when you present a PUD, you have everything ironed out. This is this.
Right,
this is
right,
that,
right,
You know,
right,
you lay
yeah.
it all out, but then you get halfway through it and this don't work out because it didn't sail, this looks terrible, and you really want to do that again, you're stuck with it because of what you wrote. Who
No,
wants
I
to
think
do
that's a
that?
good, I think that's a
Right.
good collaboration, but
So I think it's really important. So what I did do when we put together the agreement with the city is talk about how much masonry, how much this, how much that, so that we could define what the expectations were going to be, so that I could achieve the affordability level to do what you asked me to, which is to sell.
Mhm.
Okay, so I don't remember the specific number that IEDA calls for, but I think this is about $260,000. And I did some pretty unique things here. Do you want me to pick it apart and tell you a little bit about it?
Mhm.
Okay, so, this is coming in from the backside right here.
Right.
So on the hillside, you're gonna come in, this is 4th Street, and everybody's gonna be able to come up at grade. Right, the sidewalk runs like this, and everybody's going up into the thing, It's really cool. This is a, EPDM roof, which is rubber membrane. It, we have a supplier that's unusually close.
I was gonna say, I feel like down
Right?
the road of you just
Yeah.
the ticket.
We've worked with them for a long time. So here's the interior of the units. These are larger, as I said, to Cherry than the ones in the center. And I did that because in order to be saleable more than as a rental, there's a certain spatial feel that a home has to have. So I walk through them a lot in my mind and I drive people crazy because I change them a whole bunch. And the window layout on the inside of the house is very important. So even if you don't love the outside window placement, it's designed to make sense for the people on the inside, right? You have king size bed, you have plenty of walking area, you have 2 very large closets. Full size master bath here, washer dryer upstairs. You can see this thing is close to it. But you take 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Nice.
So let's talk about who my objective client is. And yes, John, I am gonna have a space in one of the buildings designed for a more senior person.
Okay,
Okay,
Sounds
we
good.
did do that. Terry and I just talked about it. So you do things carefully and calculated, and you can actually create what it is you're looking for. And my objective here is to offer a first-time homebuyer. I mean, listen, people of all walks are welcome, right? But my belief is that we're going to be attracting people from other communities with more contemporary design, modern contemporary, and bring them here to this community as single people, as single person with child, as married persons with child, right? But it's not, Tom, it's not going to be a full-blown 4-alarm family tent.
Mhm.
It just, right, it's just not designed for that. And when you look at the size of the space for living, you also have to look at the development size, okay? So each one of these has a full-on 2-car garage, like a legitimate one, okay? See here, Terry? You have enough room for your little workstation, your trash cans or all that stuff, because I told you I don't want the trash cans outside. I have an 18-foot overhead door here as opposed to 16, because I want to encourage people to park their cars in the garage, okay, in the garage. And then you still have parking for 2 cars out in the driveway. So, you know, a lot of these people will have 2 cars because they're leaving this community to go to other communities for now to work, right? But that's not always going to be the case. but that still doesn't mean that they don't have stuff. But since they're not taking care of the lawns and stuff, because we're doing that, you don't have to have a riding lawnmower in here too. So just, I do the best I can to look at every aspect possible. If they have a great big F-350 pickup truck, right, you got enough room right here to pull the truck forward and still have that as well.
That's cool. That's always a good, big conversation.
Okay?
My
Where you
truck
parking the
will
truck?
fit.
You can't
Yeah.
get my truck in the truck. Yep, I used to drive huge tonner truck for a long time. So then what we did is, Mr. Mayor, we cantilevered the balconies out over the grill. I know you might not remember that conversation, but you really wanted to see some sort of a balcony. Well, everybody was trying to cantilever this balcony 4 feet. I said, that just doesn't work out. So we're taking about 7 foot, which allows you for a full-size table and chairs on both sides, and then your barbecue grill and things like this here off to the side. And then where most balconies are 10 foot, that's 14. And we did the 14, you can put a whole bunch of windows in the thing. So that people can have a lot of natural light. I mean, the view from here is gonna be crazy. If you haven't stood up on the hillside, you gotta stand on the hillside. Look, it's just gonna be unbelievable. And then the way that the things step down, everybody's gonna have it. Every single person in that development is gonna have an unbelievable view. Right over to the park. And as this town continues to change, which it's going to, it's gonna be standing right there. Okay, anyhow, so that's the first one, Terry, that's coming to you. So that'll be the first 3 buildings here, here, and here, well, 4th one too. And then you'll come down to here. And let's see. No, those are gone now. That don't work out. So this is Johnny Moreland's building. I really like this building. Very low roof line, very nice windows, nice balconies, nice entrances. Nice insets for people so that you can have a lovely access to your patio as well. John did a nice job here, and this is right up by where I live on the east side of Iowa City. I've always admired the way that it's done this, and John's used space. His son Jeffrey's a friend of mine, and I just have to keep working Jeffrey over. I'm sure I'll be able to find an actual plan set and changes to it to get it to be right. So, and then this building will be sprinkled, correct, Terry?
Yes.
Okay, and the center buildings, and I think it's important for you to know that for fire safety, the center buildings, the center floor will also be sprinkled. So those are the 2 12s that are all the way to the north end where the grain bins would be setting. This would be the style of the proposed building. This is Gary Watts' building on 5th Street in Floresville, Old Town Village. If you haven't seen that, I really like Gary, did a nice job. This would be the building that would be sitting on Main Street, and then it would return and run north-south on 4th. And this is very similar to what this would look like. However, in the design phases, once again, we're going to be coming back around, and I'm not going to bring something forward to you and say, "God, what do you think you left your money?" Okay, it's just not going to happen. I mean, the city of West Branch is very important to all of us. When I die, I've worked really hard to be able to stay in this room. And I want to be able to continue to stay in rooms like this, right? So it really matters to me that it's done well, because the reputation is brought me with me today. So we have that there. And then what I can tell you is that the ones that face the creek, right, that back up to the creek, okay, they will have a similar style to the front, but on the inside, they're going to be reversed. And these folks right here will have an incredible patio and access view. Right out over. It is just, you call it a detention basin, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have some water in it all the time. Oh, for God, does it have to be?
Why does it have to be there?
Thank you.
It's in a floodway.
No, floodplain.
What point?
Well, I mean, it really looks nice, right?
I was gonna say the aesthetic.
Sorry. I mean, I paid a ton of money to have a detention basin called a lake in my backyard in Florida. I mean, it's a joke, but I really, yeah, we can have that be wet, but not full of up, okay? From the hillside. Yeah.
That's in the water. You get out every day.
But the creek's right there. So the mosquitoes are already there, right? we're just enhancing the experience.
That's what we want.
The water flows.
Yeah,
fast.
It's pretty, and when it comes up fast and you go down fast.
Floodway. That's a floodway.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe if you.
But it never comes up that far.
I know I can't use it as a pond.
In the down, in the downtown.
Mhm.
Which is okay, we're gonna work on that. I don't know why we couldn't, Bruce Mark's right there, you gotta do
It's true.
it.
You can probably get a rubber membrane from once you're dripping.
Yeah. Okay, so there's your different building design styles. This is the general view, don't look at the numbers on here. Because you're gonna be here first, then around this corner, and then here at the same time, and then here, and then here, because we're gonna be putting in the streets at the same time, Terry, as we're doing this thing, okay? You're not gonna lay all the streets at once in here, Terry. It don't make any sense, because we wanna be sure everything lines up. So we'll come in here and we'll have access in here, and you're probably gonna make me do a continuous loop for fire, and I can sure do that, okay? So we go on and through here. And then we'll address how these foundations are gonna line up to connect this to that driveway. And then we'll swing back around and we'll deal with this road in here. But I know you're gonna want your continuous loop for fire. I'm gonna give it to you right there. Okay? And that's just kind of how I see that. As to how that will unfold.
Has Kevin seen this at all? The fire chief?
I don't think-
We usually have him approve them before. Or
Turning radiuses.
it might be up for conversation, so
Why would
I'm
they
just
sell
saying,
it?
a
You do
chat
that.
with Kevin would be helpful if you're gonna have it open.
Do your attorney radius on there yet?
I don't have mommy from city.
Oh, so we do.
I
have it.
put in a ladder truck.
We've got
Oh, really?
paper there too that shows the,
Yeah,
that was one of the things we met pre-conference that.
Right up
we
here.
talked about, turning radius. Fire radius.
Uh-huh.
So it's up in front of.
I see that they have we did hire to have a photometrics done at City Press at View. That's it.
Kind of how they end up looking. I was gonna have a conversation with you about whether or not you want to help do quite a bit.
I mean, you gotta do something. Right, you don't wanna light the place up like a spaceship, but that ain't enough. Cause okay, so in the parking lots in the back, in the big building, I'll tell you this now, if you can work on, okay? In the parking lot back here, this is where I see my problems. Right, so you're tucked way back in here from everything else, okay? And this here needs to be lit up pretty good. And you can do those two lights that hang down, you've got the specs on them from 808. Just pull them up, or pull them up, John Lundell. You guys can have them on there, and we'll do those same ones in here that shine up, and then you'll already have your security lights off the corners of the buildings, right? So the light, we down light from here too. And we can be respectful of all the neighbors, but we want to be sure there's a left light back here. In through this area here, I do want to keep it quiet, but I really want to look at the streetscape as we're driving through the thing. Excuse me, I ripped through the thing brutally. All right. So this is not exactly the one, okay, but I just want you to understand, that this is the idea that I have. This is what I see. So if you're driving through here, it looks like you've only got like 5 of them, that ain't, right? You're gonna have to put some in there so that they look nice. And, you know, I'll have to go through this. I know Hawkeye Electric, Matt was going, Newmiller, but I'll get together with Matt Newmiller. And he and I'll sit down, he'll get mad at me because he says it on, I don't care. And we'll talk about where these actually need to go. Because you see, we're also doing the trail out there too, right? So since we're putting in that trail, somehow you're gonna want some lighting on that too. And I want to be sure the lighting on the trail enhances the experience for the people that are living in.
And have it be cohesive.
And have it be cohesive in the back, see, because you got the trail coming around here. See, so you're gonna have some side of lighting just for security and for here, for people. So we're gonna need more. We're gonna need more lighting.
Try it out.
I think it is 1 foot, 1 foot candle at the property line, I think. That's the goal. I don't know if that's terrible or.
Well, all,
Moonlight.
all the fronts of these here, each individual one of these units will have a light up by the front door, right? And every one of these here, is it, you gotta show that for all of this, because you don't have lights on any building. I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying.
I wasn't sure what you wanted to do.
Well, you gotta put lights on the building. You're gonna have them by the garage doors on every single, I'm not scolding you, and I know it sounds like it, but you're gonna have lights on the garage doors on all of them, and we'll just tell you now, that way we can go make the change. You're gonna have lights, one on every one of these front doors, it's being the one that shines up and down and washes the wall from back in the '70s, you know? It looks like that. Up and down. Oh, excuse me. Thank you very much. This is only for permanently on lights. Got it. I will still work with you to get this a little bit with more light, especially in the parking lot. And we won't go crazy, but we do need to have a nice in the space that are on. This is about. Okay. Who's moving this? I saw that from you, Terry. Thank you very much.
Of course, there's also a question of light pollution.
Of course, absolutely.
you know.
We won't get carried away on you.
Good.
Well, come on now, let's look at this.
I would say the only.
You had to bring it up.
So there's another property, it'll be this property here and then the one on the other side, only one other residential property here.
Mhm.
So this is all industrial, so you're gonna have less pushback except for these two, but this house faces.
We don't want to pollute it for the residents of inside the development either, but look at here. There isn't any light in there. There's this. And you know, we want to be careful of light pollution, but I really think we can do better than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lights. I mean, there needs to be one in the, by the walking trails. There needs to be one over here at the entrance to the walking trail. There needs to be
And that back
one
parking
tied
lot,
in
I would
back
agree.
here. At the exit of the trail, all this needs to be lit cohesively as part of the development. We've got no lights in here at all. Okay, the access points, yeah, I think there's a sign light.
No, the sellable ones. the
Oh,
outside,
oh.
So then the.
Yeah, I believe we had talked about that. I'm bringing up light pollution because although sufficient lighting, for safety purposes, important,
Yes,
and at the same time, I'd like to see the stars.
I understand what you're telling me, my friend. I
And
respect
one
that.
also has to pay attention to the cost of electricity.
Yes, I respect that. as well.
Maybe even it's not your cost, it's
Right.
HOA's cost.
Well, we need, I respect that. When you look at that lighting plan, based upon what you see, do you agree with me that there needs to be some light added in some other place in the town?
I can agree with you that some light needs to be added. How much light needs to be added is a matter of your judgment.
Well, so what we'll do here is I will work with Kelly and MMS to more strategically place the lights in what I consider to be a more appropriate location, and then you and I can convene. And anyone else that would like to attend, and talk about what your feelings are. We could actually do that before I go to talk with them.
Sure.
So we can pick out where we think they need to go, because I'm amicable to the end result being right, and I also know that you've got quite a bit of experience.
Well, and I will tell you, just, I reside in this neighborhood. And the struggle that we're gonna have, a little bit of the struggle we had with some of the other ones, is that when you're putting a new development into a residential neighborhood, you've got 50, 60, 70 years of no light pollution, so we
Right.
gotta be careful in how we ease it in. Now, I
Yes.
don't think there's anybody in that neighborhood who would disagree that this wasn't a great
Sure.
opportunity. But I know we've heard that, that's been the biggest concern that we've heard from other community members. And so it's even more a little bit, when you live in a new development, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of used to that stuff, but this is an existing older side of town residential development. So there's a couple houses that I can, on this end, but other than that, I think maybe the people. It does. And those will be conversations we have. Yeah. Yeah. What type of bulb, what,
Yeah.
is it up, is it
What I
down,
wanted
is it
is-
out? Yeah.
This too was industrial before, basically.
Is
So-
what?
It was industrial.
And it was industrial. Yeah.
So,
But it was dark,
It's sort of
Right.
low level.
but it was dark. So they're
Yeah,
used to
low
dark.
As far as light.
They're
Yeah.
used to dark, but we need
But
to,
people coming in, using Smith trucks, Hunter Smith trucks come in, how many times a day versus now, 100 cars.
So I'm gonna look for something else in here.
I'm not trying to, I'm just giving
No,
you
I'm-
some feedback on what concerns have come up in the past and maybe some
I
challenges.
absolutely 100% respect where you're at, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find exactly what I'm looking for. Oh, look at that there, the affordable housing project. Look at that, I think with that. PUD submittal. This is PUD information and master plan, specs that, I don't know how to read their stuff. But see, somewhere in here is the lighting plan, and I pulled these lights and their lumens right off of this. And we're
Oh.
putting these, I mean, listen, I don't wanna remake the wheel, okay? So
Yeah, no, I get it.
this is another building that I'm doing right now. And that's where you're gonna go to get your parking lot lights, you pull it right out of here. And this is where the lumens and all those things that I sent Kelly came from over. To get that figured out. John,
Yeah.
we'll get it right. Okay, we'll get it right. I understand where you're coming from. You could actually think back and know that a lot of the residents are gonna have their lights on at night too. So maybe a sparse placement of aesthetic lights in the center of the development. And then rather than a light that leans to be more attractive, one that's a little bit more functional along the creek side. Okay, so we just want to be sure that the light spread is adequate, because when this development is completed and the trail is pushed through, which will happen, it's going to be a very busy trail.
Yeah, they will. No, and I think you can meet, it's just, it's a great but unique position to put a development, because you don't have a lot of residential up against your property line,
Mhm.
right? Like, but you're still sticking yourself in the middle of an
You're right in
existing,
the middle
so
of town.
it's kind of like, we know what they were used to cement trucks in and out all day long, maybe not lights, at
Not
night,
at
you know what I
night.
mean? Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So all I'm doing is throwing out some of the stuff that I
Sure.
feel like just put it in your pocket,
Everybody
you
just
might
do-
have some
yeah,
feedback on this stuff, yeah.
Hopefully they'll wanna live there too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm ready for whatever anybody else has. for.
I think it looks amazing. Excited.
Yeah,
Are there gonna be any dumpsters?
Yeah, we're definitely,
Yeah.
mhm.
They're gonna be screened?
Yeah,
And the reason why
Sorry.
the reason why I'm asking is, I mean, are they gonna have gates on the front?
yeah.
I mean, because where the.
Have you seen
the
808?
dump Trucks are gonna become,
True.
where the garbage trucks are be coming into the lot at, to go ahead, how easy are they gonna be accessed?
The access should be pretty easy. If you drive right between the two, big complexes,
Yeah.
should be hatched directly off of that to the northwest.
Up to the backside of that building? Right here.
straight up.
So if you'll-
Right
Yep,
here?
yep, right there.
Okay.
So there should be a gate in front and they should be able to pull into that driving back right up.
Terry,
there.
go drive, if you wanna see what it like, 808 is probably similar, right? 708, 808,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I know that's your building, but
Yeah, that's old.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's what your vision is, right?
Yeah,
And I have an office there, so it works really well, actually. And then I watch the garbage trucks come in and out, and because they have that giant gate that they can get in and out, and the dumpsters are inside
Mhm.
that makes it pretty.
and then you
easy.
got the walk around Terry, so people can carry their stuff in.
Yeah,
Right, and they put the stuff in and they can pile it everywhere. Then Johnson County Refuse can call and complain, there's all kinds of stuff in, and then it's in the bill, right? You've seen it all, come on now.
I've never seen that before.
Oh, boy, come on now. Yes, that is what I have in mind for that.
I know Adam and I were talking earlier also, that this is gonna be an 8-foot wide trail,
Oh, you tell me.
10-foot wide.
This is 10-foot wide trail? What do you got in there for the trail?
Eight.
Okay, 8.
We had 5 originally, already had that comment. It's two bites already. It's on to 8 feet. Pick it up, that'd be great. Must.
8 according to our engineer for bike.
The one that'll be connected to it's not that wide either.
All the trail that comes, goes from Solon to Ely is 10 feet wide.
It's all gravel, or it's all.
ah,
Solon to Ely.
is that 10?
Cedar Rapids.
Oh, friend, I don't. You get on your, I'm not gonna argue because it's just because I lose. I think if we went the rotary again and it was 10 feet across, I don't think we structure almost. I mean, if I take a 3 feet and you can stand.
Well, it's gonna be a combination bicycle pedestrian trail, especially close to your area.
Oh, it's very productive.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
It will be by eventually. for-
So if you're gonna have both bikes and pedestrian, the 10 feet is better, but certainly 8 feet.
Do they?
Yeah.
Eventually, this will be a trail from Stolen to what?
It's the same trail that goes through Ely.
So in Iowa City, we park 6 feet. for- Go lower park and. And I'm referencing that and all around the parking lot. Here's the thing, when we get it much wider than that starting point. And that.
Reason for conditions?
Good point. Needing wider need, but you're not gonna have new TVs.
I mean,
Five is not good. It's good for the town.
I think it's fine. Same road out there, goes what they're proposing. Same person, but,
Well, those are my.
Given.
Break it out.
So it's kind of.
That look like each of these would be 2 foot offset, probably. If not more.
Did you have comments on landscape plan?
Yeah, I was just glancing at it. I would have thought that we would have wanted a little bit more landscaping in front of the buildings along, 4th Street. Maybe some low level landscaping.
I
maybe
mean-
some trees.
So I have not reviewed MMS's work, but Kelly and I did have a conversation about landscaping.
No, Bauer. Not getting very hard. Sorry, I can drive. Go ahead and just.
Oh, for God's sakes, was he sleeping again?
I just, that's one reason why I sort of wanted to see your concept front elevation. See if there's any greenery up.
Yeah.
And if this is dry, I asked, just have it back for about a tree or two here. Just because at least in this town, the sun beats down really bad on the west side.
But
So
you guys are gonna share. Yeah. Down in there, Sharon, you can share.
Not a lot. But if it's a wet pond,
I understand what it needs to be put in the sidewalk. But I hope that, that it's not. This is. Latency is difficult no matter what. Yeah, so I don't know what we're gonna do quicker.
I would say it's a low level, this is 2 foot offset. Maybe more. You step them up.
Well, yeah, so. What I'm gonna get with Nolan Navarra. I know Kelly does a great job with landscape design. Some of the things that he plugs in there, you just can't even find it. So I'm gonna talk with Nolan from Nolan Lawn Care and Landscape, being working with him for a very long time. And have them tell me what he. Yeah, I like those grass.
Yeah, you've only had.
Right.
You're selling it.
What now?
You're selling it.
Well, I hear you.
Offer the choices.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, yeah, some sort of a package, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So in the way that I've done that is on interior finishes, we do have A, B, or C. When I was in Colorado, I I said, the developer, I said, well, I'd like to do this over here, and they said, no. So I'd like to do, they said, no. I said,
These
"I
were
thought
on
about this."
our-
You know, here, listen to me. A, B, C,
This giant.
which one do you want? Okay, and that's just how it was.
That gives them-
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you think they're.
Yeah.
copying yours?
understood,
No.
okay,
Would that?
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, they got three choices, there's only three choices, you gotta do one.
Yeah.
so you wanna have. So I'll have Nolan call some stuff out. I thought this was a 10-foot setback, he just told me it's 13.
Yeah.
Was what? The conversation I had with Kelly about it was, we were moving it from 15 to 13.
Yeah.
Just enough to fit the building.
Okay, well. Fine with that as long as it's building fits.
Recommitment.
I have my.
Hey, Roger, our tree committee can give them some suggestions.
Yeah.
Well, that's my-
To me like that, I don't know what that was.
That building is far out, it's 30
What's that?
or 30 foot. But on that plan here, it's only 20.
Purpose of this. I don't like. to-
Right, so we have 30 from here.
You don't say.
That needs to be part of it.
No, I just need to check this thing.
Yeah, we want a affordable housing.
Thank you very much. And then what he's supposed to do, if you have that all the way south, if he, and this one. Right, be sure that it's. Right, see, and then it was also supposed to be brought with the proper line of sight here. This is, you know, I wasn't gonna go this close, but I wanted, you got to change that,
That's my only reservation.
Thank you.
So you're proposing 10 feet.
yeah,
And I don't mind.
otherwise I don't fit.
Started from six, we zoned it.
Well, you can't take any more out of this. I fought that battle so many times. Because then the bedroom gets terrible. Well, and then it turned into 11 foot. No. Thank you for catching that.
The other thing is everybody comfortable with 10-foot setback, which I know we can, with PUD, we can allow that.
You're the man that said that. You're the man that enforces that.
Yeah.
No, you're right, we can decide what we think best. We have agreement on what we think best.
So this is at a 13 right now?
I can't get the top building, the bottom building.
It's gotta be 10 foot.
Gotta be 10 foot.
And this one up here, I know you're gonna be taking this property over too, but that one's right on the property line right now. We're beyond the property line.
Wayne, I'm counting on you on that one. By the way.
I own part of that building.
I saw the plans and I was like.
I have to tell Our team will be reviewing.
I heard your calculated statement. It was
Yeah.
great.
Thank you very much.
I mean, that's fine for building code because you don't measure the setback on a right of way to the center of the road where you measure from.
Well, they've got to worry for their grid.
I mean, that's your fire separation distance, I should say, so that's not an issue. It's just that with the PUD, you can, you know, that gives us the
Flexibility.
flexibility to choose what we want or what the city wants. So if it's 10 foot, everybody's comfortable with 10 foot, I'm fine with that. I mean, there's no fire issues. Because you measure your fire separation distance in the center of the road. So.
So what are the
Nobody
issues?
can build in the center.
Where's the easements gonna be? That's the question I've got. Where, is there anybody gonna have to be in that area up there in the front? Like utilities and stuff. Are they
Yes.
gonna need to be in there?
Liberty will have
Right,
to-
being that 10 foot.
Yes, we will be. Correct, and we also have, so we're working with Beckler to have the utility roof on the inside of the building.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because they got the water coming in back by
Right.
these buildings anyway.
That would be
Correct.
nice.
Yeah. So if you look at what service on this side of the street from the full, the two facilities that are left, three. And then you have the green bin and then, little apartment building and shop that are all drawn off that young transformer coagulation series that they have out there.
And then you have to remember across the road's a great big hill too, and there's no each step back either, so.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think anybody's gonna have a real problem matching them.
No, I would agree.
Are there any aesthetic questions about 13 versus 10?
I think the best thing is that going for them is all the garages are off the backside of the building.
Oh, that's true.
You know, I mean,
That's true. I mean, it's a good-
you know, everybody knows zoning is all about aesthetics, like you just said, John, so I mean.
Well, I don't wanna walk my dog and have to wait for someone to pull in my garage.
Yeah,
every
or,
30 feet.
or parking, or parking across the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
No, I think I really like the layout of it. I think
Is there on street?
I would
parking on
say-
4th Street?
there is on the street. Parking on Fourth Street on one side.
On one side, is it the east or the west?
It's on the north side.
Your water.
So all that's gonna be
sewer.
Fourth Street.
One thing we'd have
Oh.
to do-
So
So we might
on
see
the
some-
west side, there's,
Yeah, you bet.
but not on the east side.
But are we gonna see some, are we gonna maybe see some parking?
I don't
on
think
4th
so.
Street?
Well,
Probably.
I don't know. We shouldn't even
I
got
don't
one.
think
in
it's
front.
building.
Yeah, with the two
Four
stalls.
cars, yeah, you got four cars, four,
Two bedrooms, but if you get a guy that brings in. a
Yeah,
boat like
no.
a guy like me, then he's gonna park his truck
We
on
don't-
Don't be that guy.
Where's he parking his boat?
the inside.
In the development, yeah.
Especially, oh no.
Check the
Oh, no.
covenants.
Oh, that's-
You can't even have your garbage, you know, not even have your boat out. It's a whole bunch of Karens in one room.
So, oh, I see. So no,
Oh, no, no, they have them.
what's that?
On the north, from north to south on the west. I'm sorry, on the east, no, west side. You can park.
You think it faces down, no? Okay, I park over there.
Well.
Where you-
there is- there is a playground.
I don't ever see anybody park there.
That was gonna be the next question.
Well, yeah.
Now, here's another thing to think about, just from somebody who moved into Fourth Street, who didn't know the logistics of
Just a
Fourth
little
Street.
bit.
There's a lot of summer. Down that
That's kinda
street,
what I-
that are going to Cargill.
One of the
Well,
questions.
they pretty much shipped everybody out
Did
of the
they?
plant. There's two people.
There's not as much as there used to be, but I would say they start at 5 and they don't stop. till 6.
Not to steal your thunder, but I have a question about the green space plan. Is there green space or any play area or any kind of children area that's kind of section put into the plan?
Yes, the trail to the large park.
That's a great.
Also, green space in between. And then there's also a park there, and if you come into town,
Will there be any expectation to connect over to Waxy Park? Like a footbridge or anything?
that's what the trail, so we have the trail, we are paying for the trail that runs north to south of the entire development, 8 feet
You can
wide.
go through Main
So
Street
people
or-
can go halfway,
College Street.
go up and cross the bridge or down the other. one. Cross
We
the
need to
bridge.
talk about a section across the middle. Roger, maybe.
City won't. Council won't.
Having a bridge, over the footbridge. We just built $1 million bridge.
I was gonna say, dude, I drove around, all the way around for a long time.
You don't need, that satisfies the
And also, side note, there's a, what appears to be a foundation still in the park, concrete. Can I take that out?
slab, it used to be a mobile home shed, or mobile stuff, yeah.
So I mean, I'm there, so at my expense, and I have reached it away to make it part of it.
Fund up.
Every
Gotcha.
improvement that we make to that directly benefits. Right? Yeah, really.
I really appreciate it. Thank you,
Ryan.
Ryan.
You wanna build a pool?
I don't know.
Roger. Roger,
Hey,
do you want us to vote real quick for you?
pickleball would go way better off than baseball fields. That thing is busy all the time.
That's a fact.
Pickleball?
Pickleball, we have a court over here on our new park.
I don't know how to play it. Is that?
You could put 7 courts in there.
No, it's like
They'll
tennis.
be busy.
Racquetball, tennis, kind
Okay.
of.
Okay, affirmative discussion. I think we should go around the table here and see if anyone has any additional questions and conditions we might want to place. This matter of essentially approving the site plan seems to me an incremental improvement. And I think there are gonna be more changes made as we go along, and we should be ready for those and anticipate them in various respects. But Brad, why don't you start and see if there are any
This plan pretty much set in stone.
No,
What
we're
you're
looking
looking
at
at, this is what you want to do.
Well, I really, no, yeah, this is, yes. I, this is a variable. And, you know, so I'm gonna, this is a ways out,
Let's forget this, this is what you're wanting to do.
100% for
100%,
sure,
yeah.
10-foot setback.
Because, you know, we approve this stuff and then, you know, like other developments that come back and then it changes. Not near as big or not near as dense.
Well, with the PUD, we still have a lot of input into the,
Right.
Okay, so from the economic side, which is where I start. Right, and then I work my way back.
Exactly.
And the only person that runs the numbers is me. That's
Yeah.
it. Not any of my partners, it's me, not the
Yeah.
bank, it's right here.
Yeah.
The only way that works is that right there. That's it.
Good to know.
Okay,
Fantastic.
there you go. And it's also applied, and it's also what we have agreed upon in the TIF. And it's also what we have agreed upon with Iowa Economic Development Authority.
5% internet.
so I have,
Allowed, otherwise.
can you explain what I
thought.
thought has to do with this and what their influence is on the project or
IEDA,
IED? I thought you said Iowa Finance Authority.
Iowa Economic
Oh,
Development
and
Authority, okay,
okay.
so I applied for,
Got it.
and the way that I do things is a little bit differently than other developers. Whatever grants are awarded back to the project, to me, I give half to the city after the taxes that I would pay on. And then that reduces your tip contribution. I have applied for $4 million.
Nice.
What we receive, I have no idea, but I've lobbied very hard. And I, cautiously optimistic, but there have been a lot of applications this year. And as you've had an economic shift financially, even more people are applying, but this community is in what's called small towns, so it qualifies for 20% as opposed to 10% amount. So by putting this roughly $20 million project here in the West Branch, you can capture that full $4 million.
Got it.
So
So my question about that relationship and contractual relationship or whatever is what it, when and if it's awarded,
Mhm.
is what parameters do they put on you as a developer that,
the paperwork I will go through would be something that would make the average person go crazy. It takes a full.
Oh, I'm
amount of time
sure.
to actually
I'm
do
sure.
it, Okay,
but are, do they have requirements regarding the building itself and
Price.
use?
price, full on audits, receipts, tax receipts.
Sure,
I
but
mean,
not
everything.
dictation of
Oh,
aesthetics or
No.
like that kind of.
cost.
Okay.
Cost.
Cause that's where I think you're gonna come, like, I really wanna just emphasize that the intention of zoning this is POD. It was to continue the historic aesthetics from the downtown towards the east side of town. I've heard a little bit of a conflicting kind of feedback on that. I mean, and that's not for me to decide, but that was the intent, was it not the intention on why we chose PUD was to have kind of a flow of,
Have a lot, control of what you go in. It's a lot, after a lot, 30, 50 homes in that field.
right.
This allows.
Cohesive.
Mhm.
Um,
Cohesive, I think
That's
is.
why.
Well, I specifically remember we had a conversation about the aesthetics and how the intention was to create a flow to the east side from the historic registered places downtown. And so I just want to make sure that before we do anything, that we all understand that,
Sometimes when you have a little downtown,
I'm not saying we have to, yeah,
sometimes
that's
when
what we
you
said.
with something different, it makes the current aesthetic stronger. The historic aesthetic may be stronger of the downtown.
Well, I don't disagree with that theory. I
This is
don't,
a little more
but-
contemporary.
And yet leading into the downtown, what we can also have is lighting, for example, some of the accoutrements that lead you into the development. Some of that can echo the historic area of the downtown.
That's true. Well, I personally like the aesthetics of it. I just, I don't want to get to a point where it's like, okay,
The development agreement is no more than 25% masonry. If you guys were to recommend anything more, council would have to agree to amend that development agreement. He's
Oh,
getting
see, no, but
75
that's why I'm bringing this up, is I don't wanna get down the road and have some,
So I think it's important that I validate you that, and that in doing that, the entire room understands with a little bit more clarity. As you're traveling east-west on Main Street, that,
yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
But when you're traveling north-south or behind that, you have a different.
oh, I
facade.
see what you're saying,
Okay.
so that's the Main Street one,
This is Main Street.
okay, I like that
Okay.
better. And,
There
and
you
it
go.
doesn't, it's not up to me, I just know that was part of our intentional conversation at the beginning, so I just, the last thing I wanna do is we all talk about this, then we get to, and somebody's like, well, wait a minute, you know,
We have,
That's
so Main Street in West Branch is very attractive, and you're correct as well, because there's a variety of different things going on, but in the same token, there's a variety of different things going on, so I tried to come into town and pull cues.
no, I
the
think
buildings,
that's,
bring it
yeah,
together.
I get what
Some
you're
of
doing.
it's, you know, T111, some of it's, Click and Click and Blick, some of it's Cast Country. Yeah, you have a whole variety of things. You got yellow on the winery, you got the green on some of the, well,
What about the old Mexican joint?
the orange stuff, that it's in a floodway, they called me, you can't do nothing with it, so, you know, you have so many different elements coming together. So when you look at that building, you have so many different elements coming together.
Yep.
Right? So definitely paying attention to Main Street. And you'll want to pay attention to the north side of Main Street and the south side of Main Street as this community continues to develop.
Absolutely,
But when you get much off of Main Street and you're spreading out into a more downtown district, which is going to take place over
Yeah.
time, we looked at progression of other communities, trying to tell you about it, it's coming, right? It's just gonna happen.
it is,
So, you know, when you get off of Main Street, you need to think about how you're changing into more
the
residential
transition,
zone,
yep,
right?
yep,
So then you transition now to the more residential homes. Behind the screen of this.
In my opinion, everybody just needs to do themselves a favor and go down First Avenue, Coralville, take a right on Fifth Avenue,
Fifth Street,
or Fifth Street, isn't it Avenue or Fifth Street?
Street,
Take a look at the left side of the road versus the south side of the road versus the north side of the road, and you'll see the difference.
Huge difference, yes.
Just remember, I did that.
Yeah.
Okay, so. you like it.
Yeah, I mean, just all the way down it, you can just tell the difference. The newer stuff. And I mean, they just did a really good job, and then you have the older stuff, and it's like the 12.
So is
that
this-
were built back in the day.
It's infill development is what's happening.
Yeah.
is this all residential, no commercial? Is
There
that,
will be a little commercial on the main floor. Very hard commercial,
yeah, oh, I know
It's
this, I know that.
very
yes.
hard, okay? So it's the which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
No, I got it,
Well, we need the population first. Okay, which is also the strategy to come down. Back to IEDA one more time. It's 3 years. This is
Got
what the grant is available for. That's it. 3 years. So for awarded the entire package, we have 3 years to do the whole thing.
got it.
You shake your head at me, Roger, I built 50 homes. I just gotta get it over with so I can get to the next thing.
One thing I know along Fifth Street is that a lot of it storefronts are empty.
Not my office,
Not a lot
I
of.
don't own that building anymore.
I know you don't, damn it,
You know,
I can't call you to whine when something bad goes wrong.
Well, Watson's building, he put half of that's parking.
yeah,
Underneath the first.
Correct.
Then the west half is all, that's commercial.
Markle will be developing across the street soon, don't worry.
Okay,
Yeah.
we continue around, any more points to make?
No, I think she kind of took the one that I was thinking about, having commercial space underneath, because I was under the impression that was gonna be kind of bringing in.
And I would say conditional as approved by the fire chief on
Yeah.
the fire truck.
That's one of the other things. Do want to review the lighting, so that would be another element of condition.
Yes.
Um,
And let's set a time. I don't know what the best way to do that is, because I've always relied on other folks. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pass it. If Kelly was here, I'd tell him I needed to, but always relied on other folks, but this time it was a different company that would have generally been New Miller. So I'm gonna get with Matt, he just got back, and I'll take that thing with him. Okay. And we'll figure that out.
I think we're all in agreement that removing that piece of cement in the park would be an excellent idea.
Thank you. Don't thank me. Throw it by there, I mean, right, there's where the kids are gonna play.
Take it out.
I'm gonna improve where they're gonna play.
There you go.
That's not a condition though, right? We're not making that a condition. Are we making a condition? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
Adam, oh God.
is there any interest in reviewing further the landscape plan?
This is what he's talking about with that fifth or first and fifth down in
Mhm.
Coralville for what the look of those buildings would be.
All different.
You gotta give credit where credit's due, right? You know, and if Gary Watts is listening to this, which he's not, he did a nice job. They did a nice job. That's a beautiful building.
Intermingled what was.
Yeah.
You got
Riverside.
Frank, you got Lionel, you got.
Correct number of floors. It's really, it's just nice. Yep. He did a nice job.
I like how they have that commercial space opportunity down on.
So what you'll have there is you'll have the commercial along Main,
Mhm.
and then when you turn to go north on Fourth, it'll skip to residential. And then you'll have your zero entry residential that can come right in off the sidewalk to the front of that building and will carry through a similar design as the other buildings, the 5 room, the 5 units that we're talking about going up, where they have their own individual doors opening out onto that sidewalk and coming down. Because we're gonna use the elevation, Terry, to tie that sidewalk in. You see what I mean? Because you're coming around the corner, right? That's what we're gonna need ADA.
It'll work. I hope.
That's really gonna address.
Oh, well, it's gonna work. Because of the world and all other choice.
I must say, I like the aesthetics of those kept roofs. I think they have diversity.
Thank you. The site, as Terry pointed out to me earlier, is going to be very entertaining because of its challenges. However, the end result is.
That's a really great way to put it. I like it.
Yeah. It's gonna be very-
It's gonna-
I was asking if there was anything about the landscaping anyone wanted to comment on 30.
I'd like to see something on the plan if we could.
I'll add the question about park benches along the path. And we make sure we kind of include that in the lighting and some of the park benches along there.
No.
Okay. I'm not getting the footbridge. I'm trying for the park bench.
$1,000 a bench. No. Bought those before, and then we put in trash cans that nobody empties, oh, I've been through this, right? Oh, yeah.
Right.
Is that all
I
right?
agree, trash cans, no. That's, on the other hand, venture to, not be a major change, but it would be an aesthetic.
A bench is like $5,000.
What's a water feature?
We had talked about whether the retention facility would be dry or wet. I don't know if there was any general conclusion on that.
Then they're gonna want a fountain in that.
I've done that before too.
They're
They
gonna
break all
want a
the
fountain
time.
in that thing. You make that
Oh,
thing wet, you know,
I've
that-
dealt with that. So what we're gonna find out is if it can be without an exorbitant amount of mosquitoes. Because what's happened before is that you don't get it deep enough and the water does draw the mosquitoes and then you drain it anyway. See, but the one that we did behind 808 has some standing water in it all the time because you got the beehive up high. So if you put it at the right level, you can still catch all the water. We'll have that dialogue.
Okay,
If we can make it happen, I want it to
Right.
happen. If it can't happen because it can't happen, then it can't happen.
okay.
I'm in North Central Iowa, I don't think they'll give me an authority.
Hey, we can make you a Ghostbuster in seconds, Adam. Put the little pack on your back.
Concrete now.
So,
Oh, really? Well, I didn't realize that.
but the condition are what we just discussed, which is.
Shit don't work.
Okay, and then it's next.
Oh.
Well, I'm still. continuing
I mean, we don't want people to do that.
Alright.
But then we take the water.
Okay,
Okay,
Lane,
carry on.
Adam. Any other questions or conditions?
We appreciate the communication with the residents. That's the only thing that we've had on infill developments in the past that creates any kind of problems. Do that will work out. And I think the main thing is whatever comes of that corner lot, so we know what that's where the commercial space is sort of devoted to, right, along Main
Yes.
Street. And so if that is not able to be incorporated into this project, what, I guess, what are we looking at for contingency plan?
I think that I'd like to table that for tonight, if you could, please. And I think that we should table that for tonight, if that's acceptable for everybody.
The 27th,
Well,
that's what our next hearing is.
let's, so.
Of-
Twenty-seventh.
Of September, sorry.
27th, we're just rezoning the.
We'll all be back together though.
Yeah.
I think, Ryan, what would be good is for you to contact me directly on the administration. And then you can reach me, and, you know, kick some ideas around together. I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
I think I already talked about the benches,
I
John.
know.
I think that's far enough. I pushed the envelope here.
I'm taking the concrete, I think I can move it over.
Great job.
I'd say put a fountain.
I love a fountain, so don't be. Okay.
I do have a bit of a question around the traffic.
Yeah.
Enhanced around this area, I'm just a little bit. Traffic. And that may not be a topic we have to approach tonight. There's definitely gonna be significant inroads. Ingress and egress.
We have an interesting combination on 4th Street of traffic and turning from Main Street onto 4th Street of semis. Cause there's a Cargill at the very end of 4th Street and they go to pick up their dog food or whatever it is that they have down there and
And to your point, Dwayne, that might be smarter to table that until we get figured out.
Yeah.
The next step.
Right, so I, just so you know, I have examined that.
Okay, and that might be
Okay.
something we may
Yeah.
share at a later.
I have
time.
examined that already.
Okay.
As far as the means of egress for the residents, so they do have 3 different points.
Yeah, I've noticed,
Right, so
obviously.
people will take the path of least resistance, so generally speaking, people are gonna take it to the north and come around by the park,
Sure.
because they're gonna train themselves to do that. Very few people will exit along Fourth, it's just not.
Just not gonna be
They're
there.
just gonna
Yeah,
sneak over the hill, down to the 4-way and turn left, or go off the back by the 12 units and turn left across the bridge. to the park.
it's just human nature.
It's just human nature, that's correct, and you mentioned parking along, Fourth as well, so I do think we should address that. Whether it's by the hand of this development or by the hand of future developments, one of the things that I had presented to other councils, city councils, and planning and zoning commissions in the past is, if the most significant thing that we have to worry about is that there's not enough parking, what a success we have been.
right.
People choose to continue to go to Big Grove and Iowa City, even though there's absolutely no parking. They still go. And if we can make it so that 4th Street is lined because of the commercial businesses, in the downtown district of West Branch, friends, I take half. Okay, each one of these has 4 parking spots, 2 per door for the apartments, for the 12 units, and 4 per door for each one of the condos. If we max that out and still need more parking on street frontage, we hit it out of the park.
Okay, it seems that we finished discussion. Barry, you don't have any more comments? yet? You
No,
got
he-
two-
he
you
answered
got
pretty
two,
much all mine.
Okay, I'd like to move that we approve the preliminary plat minus the commercial space aspect of it. And we have several conditions that, as part of the approval, the fire chief be contacted, make sure that all the clearances are appropriate. That we review the lighting conditions. That we pay attention, what Blaine does, to improved landscaping, perhaps including at least one bench. And that we allow a 10-foot setback as opposed to the 13 that was earlier discussed. And Blaine has offered to remove the cement in the park, which seems like something that would be quite desirable for everyone. That the possibility of a wet pond retention facility be considered and investigated more fully. And I think that's my motion. I don't know if we need it read back, but our secretary has it. Yes. Did I forget something?
I want to just suggest that we separate the two. This need to move to set the public hearing And then the motion that you just described is sort of the combination of all these. The. We
Well,
have to set the public hearing for the rezoning of the parcels that are shown on this plan. R3, rezoned to PUD. That was the start of the.
Oh,
For September
okay,
27th.
okay, that's, I see. Okay, well, I'll hold my motion until we set the public hearing date for September 27th.
I motion to set that. Do I need to?
Sure.
Okay.
And the second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the public hearing on the 27th?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, now move to the preliminary plat. And I want to give it a try.
On the,
On the various.
on the conditions, I have, Kevin Stillman's approval of the fire part of it. Review of lighting. Was that a conditioner? I just wrote that
Yes.
down. Okay. Discussion regarding landscaping,
Yes,
wet basin consideration.
yes,
And minus commercial development area of the corner of Fourth and Main,
right, not considering that.
not considered.
Just considering the phases 1 through 4.
Yes.
I'm writing a note that Terry commented on low lying.
Did I miss
plants.
anything?
I don't think so.
You think so, Jim?
No, I was just gonna ask, is there a date that to be determined on the commercial side?
No, I
It's
think
kind of,
it's,
depends on
still in the air.
if and when he comes to an agreement with,
Okay, so there's nothing that's started with it.
Correct.
Okay.
there's really nothing we can do yet.
Sure.
If at all.
Well, and,
So you motioned already on that, John.
I don't think we need to put that on him. We might find some other.
Oh,
We can
okay.
find a way to put.
We could
that
trade
on
him
him.
for cement for the park bench.
Yeah,
Right?
we'll
That would
trade
be
him
double
cement.
trade.
okay,
It's gonna sound nice.
we have a motion.
You
We have a-
motioned.
Ryan
Ryan seconded.
seconded. And, I just want to go down and have a roll call vote on it.
All right, so we got Fuller,
Yes,
Bowers,
Yes.
Van Square,
Yes.
Walsh, yes, Bauer.
Yep.
Hoffman,
Yes.
okay, Lane.
Thank you very much.
Moved a bit along,
Thank you.
bit more to go. I didn't ask for. a
We're getting there.
pickleball court,
And that's.
Although-
not concrete either.
Although if you provided one, I think that
I really wouldn't put hookups on them.
Not collaborative.
I do know.
I think we have a very happy community provided a pickleball.
Pickleball sport. Mr. Mayor. we'll put a
so then
pickleball
site
in your
plan
house.
is next, or is that separate?
I think it's-
Oh, there it is.
Got one.
Preliminary plat, and then consider approval of site plan.
I think that.
Out of it.
That's the way I put it.
Okay,
The
okay.
site plan.
So that's a yay too.
I never
I just
knew
want to
what
make sure I can. These are kind of. the same.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a lot of action. Thing is busy nonstop.
Got
Dan, I-
Smash Park and.
If I might.
Chicken and
sidebar
pickle at
question.
Kansas City.
yes.
I'd like to take a little more of your time.
Omaha's
The overhead
National-
garage door.
National Pickleball, like.
It's okay, I don't.
whatever.
Who owns? The building on the main street is a red and white brick building, there's a little gas station with 2 overhead doors. What's happening with that?
That's the fire chief that you're gonna talk to.
Who owns it?
The fire chief.
No,
Is that Kevin Shop?
no, this is your side.
Oh.
It is,
This is the old gas station.
the pull.
Shit, to whom? Oh, sorry, can we talk about that later? Okay.
Out of the live wire.
What a sweet bar that would be with the roll up in the garden out front. Oh, Moses, okay.
Let's table that.
Let's stay with
Okay.
it.
We're moving to old business, and the first sort of thing is visibility. Visibility?
Design standards. What she has.
Come on, you're all night.
Did you draw the short straw? Did you draw the short straw at the office and be like, I'll go and play tonight? Oh, got it. Making the round. This is what she had on. I don't know if that's helpful to you.
No, because, what's happening is that, I've got some new materials.
That wasn't in the packet?
No, that went out to the.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same,
So, this,
the visitability stuff. We both stole it from Iowa City. So, our mini design committee met a couple weeks ago. There's a number of topics that we wanted to consider. What I'll do each meeting is just bring in a new chapter or section to talk about. Once we hash it out enough, then we'll put everything else together in one swoop vote. Because if we're gonna implement stuff, I don't want to implement it this month, that month. It would be cleaner for us to administer it if it's all at once. So, it'll just kind of be, each meeting will kind of chip away until you're ready to go on to the next topic.
So tonight's topic is
So-
design.
Yes, the least controversial one was visibility standards. That is in your packets. That is Iowa City's ordinance. Everyone was in favor of that. Even developer. I don't know, Terry, if you want to explain how easy it is.
Yeah, it's very easy to incorporate into a single family or a duplex for new construction. And what there is there's, what we incorporated was 8 visitability standards on new houses being built. And they're very simple. I don't have them. You got them in order?
Yep.
Okay, the first one is, let's see, wall reinforcement in your bathrooms. So what you do is, all these contractors do is use up their old material laying around. They want you to put wall reinforcement around your toilet and around your shower, so that down the road, if you needed to go ahead and put in grab bars. guess
Oh, you're
what?
talking about like aging in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're at. You need to provide a 30 by 40-inch space in that bathroom, so someone
Sorry,
can get in
right
there with a
now.
wheelchair.
Yeah.
We require in Iowa City to go ahead and show that you could provide a stepless entry. Not put one in, but show that you could put one in some case that you have to. And that really isn't for only aging. Something could happen when you're younger too, and be in a wheelchair or a walker or something like that. What we
Like you
require-
would re-pour or what are you talking about?
No, you can put a ramp in your garage.
Oh, got
Yeah,
it.
or
I
you
thought you
can
meant
put a ramp from your front sidewalk up to your house.
Yeah.
You just gotta show that you could
there
provide
you
some
go.
type of accessibility to the main door or the garage door. We require one entrance to have 38-inch header. So you could put a 2'6" door in, let's say your garage door. You could put a 2'6" door in, but you need to have a 38-inch header. So if you need to go ahead and put a 3.0 door in there, you don't have.
You know
to
what
do
the
major
struggle that I always
construction.
find with new construction and homeowners is that we do all this, and Iowa City is a perfect example. We do all this, we require all this, but the homeowners don't know it. So it's like, if I am disabled 10 years down the road and I need a grab bar in my shower, like a lot of them don't even. So I think the
Well,
communication.
I mean, we've been doing this, I think, since 2006, maybe 2003 in Iowa City. So every house that's built has this, every single house.
Right,
If
it gets lost in translation as it gets older.
And every set, right here, I got a set of plans that I review every time a building permit comes in. All these accessibility issues are on these
Yeah.
plans.
Yep.
You know, we require outlets to be between 15 and 48 inches above floor. So you don't have to bend over as much.
I like
appreciate that.
citizens and
I mean,
homeowners
it's,
don't really
Yeah.
realize what's done.
But they don't,
for public
and that's,
Safety and health.
well, and
And
when
this
you
is
have
just
elderly people
development.
that don't understand that their walls are framed so that they can add or subtract.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I just wish we had more education. So I would say that's my biggest beef with Iowa City and their policies is that it's great to have it, but if nobody knows it's there to use, then it's, you know, it's kind of a loss.
Every single house has it.
Yeah, so I would say if we entertain more of that stuff here, that we make sure that we.
Yeah, I mean, contractor knows what they're doing, putting a gravel. Easy to find out if it's blocking.
Yeah, but if you're a homeowner and you don't have any knowledge like that,
They don't have no knowledge anyway.
yeah,
They don't. Half of them don't have a clue what they're doing.
then there's those drywall guys.
True. Yeah.
Terry, what is done with reconstruction?
Well, in Iowa City, we have an ordinance that says if you put an addition on your house of more than 25%, then you have to provide some of this stuff.
Mhm.
But for interior remodels, there's nothing in effect for that.
Do you think that 25% standard is appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, not very often does someone put a 25%
Sure.
addition on their square footage of their house. Not very often. I think I've only seen about in the last 15 years, maybe 5 houses. So, I mean, you don't,
Yeah,
people are gonna put that much money in their house or buy a new one.
because it costs too much to buy the lumber.
Unless it
It depends on location.
Like the rear deck also is another big one. There's the rear deck on the quote unquote design stepless entry, your main floor. That, we require that deck to be within 4 inches of the top of the threshold. So you could put a little, they make little metal.
Little ramp.
Short ramps. That you can go ahead and at least that person can get out onto the deck also.
I would say I feel like the overall intention of this is really awesome. I've said it before, I don't really think we're Iowa City and we need to match everything, but I think they're a
Oh,
good
no,
guide to follow.
Definitely not.
They have a lot of
But
Experience.
rules and
Little
regulations.
things like
Experiences
this.
are great. Yes,
Big-
that
big
too.
difference.
But I don't want to over legislate things. Here either, so.
And yet everything I read in here seems to be desirable, reasonable, cost effective, not cost much, period.
While the
Yeah.
walls are open, yeah.
Well, it's really cost effective for down the road. It's already there and then they just add tear out drywall.
People will be happy with
Yeah.
it took place.
Should be a sell point
Yeah.
for developers or anybody trying to sell the properties and it conforms to these.
Most of the people don't know it's even there.
So would it be reasonable to ask Harry to go ahead and produce an ordinance for us? That incorporates these various elements and probably also that 25% point.
Yeah, I can put that 25% in, right?
Terry, is that driven towards single family?
Single family duplex, only not townhouses,
Okay.
but just single family.
Wrong question.
No.
No, I mean, you don't do it on townhouse. The only time we do it on townhouses is if there's government money involved. We're giving them money, they're gonna make that first floor accessible. End story. But otherwise, it's just single family and duplex. So your 0 lot lines is considered, 2 single families, so you have to have it.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that, don't want to over govern, but in these conditions for,
Future, yeah.
Well, proactive.
yeah.
Well, I think there's proactivity, then you can take it to the nth degree. I don't think this is that, but I think to be mindful of it as you go along. I just feel like we're all,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think you need to be over regulating. But I think.
that's coming from the code inspector.
Seriously, as the baby boomers are getting older, I mean,
Yeah.
heck, when I had my knees replaced, I live in an old house. I wish I would have had a ramp. And then, grab bars in my bathroom, I was son of a gun. And that's back when I was 45 years old. So,
Much too soon to have. these
Yeah.
replaced.
so. I
At
mean,
any rate, this just falls in the health and safety elements that the city
Of course.
not only should be carrying out, but almost required to carry out. Well, if it's reasonable to have Terry go ahead and produce for us with these elements that he's provided already, in appropriate way. And probably have it reviewed by, the city attorney.
Definitely.
And then we take that up, next meeting, the meeting after that, as time permits. Okay, the next part is a very interesting one. That's for accessory apartments or grandmother suites or whatever, mother-in-law suites. And we have some language provided. Where did this language come from?
So Terry's is from Iowa City, and mine, I was doing research in Garner. There was some model ordinances from about 5 or 6 different sources. So really comes down to preference. Couple things that I guess that I need to know from the administrative end. Is if you guys want it to be ownership options or not. There has to be a primary and a principal. There, just due to the research that I did previous, when you're talking about nuisance issues, not a primary residence becomes a nightmare trying to get somebody to fix certain things. So in Iowa City, it's just rental. I don't know if you have a preference on rental only. I don't know. You have more experience in terms of if there's issues with it being rental or ownership.
You know, what we're seeing.
It's hard when you don't have permits.
What we first used to see back in the nineties was, people were putting a little addition on their house and making a mother-in-law suite because mom or granny was getting too old to live by themselves, so they were moving them in with the kids and, so they could keep an eye on him or her. Okay. There's specific rules for doing that. I mean, if you put an accessory apartment in your basement or in your house somewhere, it can only occupy no more than 30%, maximum 650 square feet and so forth. I mean, and then you have to be able to move throughout the house. You know, you can have a door there between the two, but you know, Iowa City makes you get a rental permit. They make you inspect it.
Well, and I just said out loud that I'm not in favor of over regulating things, but it's really hard to enforce anything unless you have something to take away or not allow. And so I think, again, I'm not up for legislating everything, but I think you have to have something to remove if especially an absentee landlord or whatever is not following the rules. It's not the tenant's fault. Well, maybe it is. Who knows? Whatever the situation, but
That's
you gotta have some skin in the game, and I think
That's a big thing too, is in Iowa City, you are required to, the principal owner is required to live in one of those 2 units. And it can't be all rental.
for what?
If you go ahead and have an accessory apartment inside your house,
Oh,
the owner of the
primary owner
property
has
has to live in one of the 2. If you have a detached garage with an accessory apartment above the garage, the owner has to live in either the house or the garage, no matter what.
Primary residence
Correct.
would be ideal.
Yeah.
Can't just live in another state and say you own it.
Yep.
And that's desirable. I mean, that seems like what we're doing.
Yeah.
Anybody-
But the big push has been probably over the last 10 years is now they're starting to put them in the detached garages. Is what they're doing. I mean, you know, as kids get older, they sort of push the kids out there, you know. And when the kids are gone to school, some in a different state, then they might rent it out to another student or something. But the big thing, if you look at that ordinance that I showed you, is if you have one in the detached accessory structure, you can only have a maximum of 1 roomer in there, 1 bedroom.
And
That's
2
it.
people.
Does this play in at all to like the VRBOs or the rentals? No.
That's completely separate.
That
That's a
is-
short-term rental.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, we're probably gonna get asked down the road on this. I'm just saying, because it's happening everywhere. It's starting to happen in some of the other smaller communities that work in. I mean, it's gonna happen. People are trying to expand. you know, they like the neighborhood they're in. And so, well, what can we do with this garage that's, you know, has a big attic in it? Can you go ahead and, you know, put an apartment? So,
I think public education is important too, like, how do I know when I need a permit? You know, I mean,
Oh,
some
yeah.
sort of marketing to the community, like, let's do a fake video, do I need a permit for this? And you're like, oh my God, yes, or no, or whatever, just real life scenarios, because the average citizen, I don't think, thinks about that stuff. That's why I hire Roger, that's why I hire Gabe, or that's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't
I
wanna
can give
worry
you
about.
my
pulling permits.
pessimistic opinion is
Yeah.
that people don't call the city on purpose because they know they're gonna be told that they have to do a permit. And so they just try
Are you
and do it
serious?
without.
I've-
So that's
I've got a-
my,
I've got a flyer that I made, that we could put on City of West Branch's
Website.
letterhead and put it on their website when a permit is required.
Well, and as long as it's simple, because I think if you expect somebody to comb through the city code to find out about permit, like, what do I need a permit for, what do I don't? Something a little bit more consumer friendly like that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Sure.
was something here recent about a 4-foot retaining wall. I don't know, it was something that was simple and kind of just laid out, you know, just kind of friendly tips to the general public.
Well, I think absence of that kind of education makes your job harder, honestly.
it's harder after the fact.
Yeah,
I mean, you try, but
I'm just a huge believer in managing people's expectations up front, because as long as you have that conversation and, you know, they can't come back and say, well, I didn't know. You can, yeah,
They still will.
you could, you did, I don't know.
and
Maybe I'm going down the rabbit hole, but
it's a constant battle because the city does everything. There are 5,000 things that we do and try to educate people on the 5,000 and then them remember it. Yeah, it just, even have them navigate a city's website is a science because there's so much stuff. And people can't even look at.
well, and I think that's where
stuff.
Facebook pages come in, right? Social media, Instagram, whatever, like, let's, you know, let's see what a morning in the life of Matt Goodell looks like. Let's let everybody know what he actually does, which is all the things. So that when they're whining because he's not filling a hole here or there, what, that this is what he actually does. And I think people are just ignorant. They don't know. And the more that we can help them as consumers, because they are consumers, even though they're taxpayers too.
Well, I think this is a good discussion. It's one that I think we probably need to continue. Because this would be a major change in our small town to start having accessory dwelling units. And there is a need for a permit, whether it has to be every year, I don't know, but certainly this extends what the city has to do and extends a bit of staff time to something of this sort. I'm not going to say we're going to have 100 of these next year or anything, but you know, I can see a gradual 5, 10 or so put into the city. And it does help densify. It does lower housing costs. It has some very desirable aspects to it. So let's bring this up again the next time.
What I would ask, if it is a popular topic in what you guys want to pass, I would take a look at future subdivision covenants, because a lot of them don't even allow garden sheds in the back, so. Just something to look at. His development's different, but
Yes,
KLM stuff, there's a lot of stuff you can't do that is restricting certain types of housing that you guys are gonna wanna check out.
So if I might, are you suggesting that you feel that? So I have restricted covenants that don't allow a shed in the back. I just had an unfortunate situation with one. Nightmare. Are you saying that you feel like it should allow that?
If that's what this city wants to do, is to provide more housing options.
On a
Yeah.
single family.
yeah.
home.
Because there's no point in them passing an ordinance that only 20% of the town's gonna be able to do, because all new growth right now, again. That's one developer, but they pretty much have the standard covenant, which was the same covenant as the Peterson Valley covenant, which is a different developer. And so just, if that's your goal is to provide more housing options, they'll have to take a look at covenants. There's just, because otherwise it's just east side of town can do it and that's it.
Some of KLM, they neighbors got together and they did the variance thing and then got it pools and sheds approved. They couldn't have them before, but now they can. Little neighbors got together and then took a vote.
Sure.
That is not how that happened.
Okay,
KLM is way too nice. And they aren't gonna sue anybody over it. So
that's what I went through as well.
Yeah.
Well, then they get together and, cause the top neighbor up there got together with your dad, right?
that he had a bunch of people's approval, but not all the other neighbors were in favor of it. There was no like formal. Gotcha. They just didn't want to deal with the headache of suing somebody.
So the closest neighborhood that I would offer for you guys to go to take a look at what this can be done, that I always found very attractive, called Peninsula neighborhood. It's off of Foster Road in Iowa City, forgive me. So if you go into town and you go up Foster Road, you can see where they did a medium to high density development with a 4-square style home. Parking in the rear like it used to be when I was growing up, you know, you have a drive alleyway in the back and then the 4-square house, the front porch, is really nice. And then the granny flat in the back, and it really worked well at that spot. So I would, you know, from a developer standpoint looking in, speaking from the outside, that was very forward thinking. When that developer came from Michigan, they had a lot of struggles, Terry.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, who was right? Okay, they were right.
It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Well, they also put walkability as one of their like cohesiveness of the
They nailed it.
neighborhood. And
Yeah, absolutely.
that's what you do when you put the garages in the back is you make people sit in the front porches and sidewalks. And
But see, you're progressive enough as a community, while I put a feather in your cap, to actually entertain that. To actually talk about doing that again. From a developer standpoint, from where I would be at as far as land use, that could not, oops, sorry, that's reminding me to work out. There could not be any more desirable land use plan because the density that they achieve, the building styles, I mean, it's just, it's awesome.
I would agree.
Thank you. Well, more discussion then next time. Do we have any comments from the city staff? Have you?
Apply for the jobs. We're hiring, and then tree commission, we're trying to get a couple more members too, and park and rec as well. So if you know anybody, you guys know it's not that hard, so we could use some help.
Except when we go to 9 o'clock, instead of usually 8 o'clock. Nevertheless, Terry?
I have nothing.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. Very good. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Moved and seconded by Ryan. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
You